Joe. So first, I'd like to introduce the chairperson of tonight's meeting, J.S. Bangu. Over to you, Joe.
Welcome, everybody. Obviously, once again, there's serious issues that need to be discussed. What's happening in Southall? Angela, if you'd like to introduce Rajinder, I think it is.
Okay. Have we got Rajinder and Jaspal in the room from Ealing Council?
We've got
Rajinder's mic is switched off.
Yep, we've got Rajinder. Just want to raise
Rajinder.
your hand.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Rajinder. Are you from Ealing
apologies
Council?
from Jaspal. She's got a childcare issue, so it's just me today, I'm afraid.
All right. Lovely to meet you. So welcome to the Southall Matters Forum. And the reason why I invited you tonight is because living locally, I am very concerned about the state of the play facilities on Spencer Street. And I feel that the basketball court is very neglected. And I've had a conversation both with Chris Bunting and councillor, which councillor? Sorry, I've forgotten her name now. Sorry, but let me move on. The local councillor, her name will come back to me. I'm blaming the heat tonight. I'm absolutely suffering. I don't know if anybody else is suffering with the heat, but I'm melting. It seems quite conducive, and there seems to be recognition that it is a resource that's valuable to the local community and needs to be brought back into use. I know you're probably going to talk a bit about that, but you're also going to talk about Let's Go Southall and explain how the project works, and if the community want to be involved, what they need to do. So if you could just give a short presentation and then we can have a short Q&A afterwards.
Sure, absolutely. I've got a presentation. I could share that, or I could talk through it, whatever you prefer.
I wasn't
talk through it. It's okay. Talk through it.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that you needed to share a presentation. The settings don't allow you to.
Okay.
It's only the host, which is myself. So I mean.
Right. No, that's no problem. I can happy to explain. So first of all, I'm also a local resident, a Southall resident, one of the community, and we have this amazing opportunity. Before I got involved in various community groups in Southall tendered for a national delivery pilot, and they successfully won that. There's 12 pilots around England that are looking at new ways to tackle inactivity and the health conditions that are caused as a result of that. So Let's Go Southall is one of 12 England pilots, which Sport England have put some money aside for, to look at new ways to tackle those health inequalities. And I must stress, it's new ways, it's innovation. And what they've said to us is that you can't do the same of the same, because it's the figures are showing that the life expectancy and the health and the chronic preventable health conditions that we suffer from in Southall, they're staying the same. They haven't really reduced. So these are things that we can stop, we can prevent, and they're really serious illnesses. So those haven't really changed. The figures haven't changed, probably going the wrong way, actually. So I don't know if you know, but life expectancy, unfortunately, in Southall is 7 years less than Perivale because of those health conditions. And also it's a compounding effect, because we spend a lot of time looking after our family members. We have the highest amount of carers in Ealing. So this project is I really need to explain this carefully to everybody, because it's an opportunity to do something differently, but the money and the grant is a forward plan. So what we do is we say to Sport England, we like to do X, Y, and Z, and do you agree with that? And so we go to them and we put a proposal through, and then they approve it and give us the funds for whatever we propose. It is a lot around activity, so it does link into Spencer Street and Mugers and play areas. It's about essentially getting, our target is, it's a pretty huge target, is to get 10,000 Southall residents to change their behaviour so that they do more than 30 minutes of exercise a week. That doesn't sound a lot. We've got nearly double levels of inactivity compared to, say, Ealing Broadway. in Southall. So it's a really big problem. And what the Let's Go Southall, and especially the active communities team, what we're doing is we're actually doing a social movement of the people, us guys here, who live in Southall, and doing a power shift to say, let's create a social movement, let's come together, and let us decide how we can get healthier and what are the things that we need and what are the barriers that are stopping us. So the Let's Go Southall Active Communities team social movement has got about now currently 63 volunteer organizers who are local people, who are from all communities in Southall. We've come together across 5 teams. So we've got a women's, girls team, a men's, boys team, a families team, an elderly team over 60, a team for long-term disabilities and health conditions. So across these 5 teams are going out into different aspects of the community, because the different community areas have different barriers. So women have different barriers, men have different barriers, families, with childcare have different barriers. So, but I really must stress, it's us, the people, it's people like me who live in Southall who got involved in it. And it's people like you who can get involved in it and make a change. And then what we're doing is, so I'm, not because I want to be particularly, but I'm embedded in the council, but also a local resident and a local sports coach. My kids go to school in Southall. It's a power shift of people, of us people making that change. But I must stress it's a forward plan. So the pot of money that we get, and we've got, Angela, please do remind me of the clock. We've got, if I just give the headline things that we're doing in Let's Go Southall, we've got 3 state-of-the-art outdoor gyms. So you must have seen the gym in Southall Park. And we've got 3 more of those gyms coming to the recreation ground, Manor House grounds, Spikes Bridge Park. And we've got the biggest cycling program with BAME community in London, which involves 2,500 bikes, which if the residents use them, so we're basically people that join that are inactive, we're going to encourage them, train them, support them, guide them to try to cycle if it works for them, to cycle to school, cycle to work, let the kids cycle, and actually give them the bike so they can keep the bike. And we found through our social movement, a lot of people said, we can't afford a bike. If I've got 2-3 kids, it's like £1,000. I don't have the money to buy my family bikes myself. So we're actually going to give these bikes to Southall residents. And this is the first. So myself and my colleagues, Jasper can't join. We were burning the midnight oil, worked for about 70 days to put a proposal together to support England. So this project is really exciting. So that's one aspect, cycling, the outdoor gyms. And the third aspect, I'd just like to iterate, is leadership development and capacity development of local people. So getting local people the skills to have confidence, get better jobs. So I want local people to become cycling instructors, local people to become mechanics. Just an example of a cycling initiative. We're going to create 4 hubs in Southall, cycling hubs. So local people running those cycling hubs in those cafes and getting involved. So it's an investment in the people. And I think that leadership is an aspect that we sometimes don't really focus on, that, obviously you guys are doing it in terms of getting community together and involved and some, direction, but we seem to scatter in many different directions and never have a real core focus. So our social movement is involved about getting people training, local training, and getting that Southall residents able to help themselves. And I'm sure you've heard the phrase, teach a man to fish. So we want to teach Southall people, give them the skills so they can get better jobs, where they don't have to work 24/7, don't have to do so many night shifts, so they can exercise. And so part of that is, so it's a mix, it's a blend of development of the people in the social movement and the training that we give with it, and also practical element of the cycles and the gym. And that's the current stage. And we're really excited about this opportunity. It really is a once in a generation opportunity. I sound like an evangelist selling it, but it is, there's only 12 of these pilots in England, and we're one of them. So we recently got £2.3 million of direct investment into Southall. And it wasn't just me, it was a few of us working to get that investment in. And the system, and we're kind of working with the system to support, get that investment in and focus in Southall. I think probably, Angela, if I stop there and maybe...
Thank you very much, Rajinder. Joe B, the chair, has a question for you.
Well, the question that I had, Rajinder, was about the financing. And you've just said it's 2.3 million. So on one side, the London Borough of Ealing, where's the money actually come from, Rajinder?
Sport England. And it actually comes, that eventually comes from Department of Culture and Media Sports. So it's
So
central.
does it come via Ealing Council?
Via Ealing Council, yes.
Is Southall Community Alliance involved?
Yes, absolutely.
So basically, on one side, London Borough of Ealing doesn't care about our healths. I've got flats at the rear of my house. My garden touches the boundary with the old gasworks. We've been struggling for years to try to get in council to do something about this. So on one side, they want to kill us, BAME people, and on the other side, they want to give you bicycles. Now, a bicycle doesn't cost £1,000. So is this another way of Ealing Council siphoning money out of project money which they receive from the national government? Sufyan, can you bring Dixon on next on this, please? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Dixon,
you.
do you want to unmute yourself?
Thank you, Joe. Yes, Rajinder, I think Joe's got a point there with regards to where Ealing Council, on one hand, is promoting the extermination of the residents living in UB1 and UB2 with the links with the gasworks. At the same time, trying to promote through Let's Go Southall. It's really is linked to Berkeley Group. Berkeley Group is the biggest investor in that one. And it's just a brand name given out. It's called Let's Go Southall. We've been to all the launches to Spikes Bridge Park 2 years ago and saw the stands. I don't.
There's a really important point I need to say,
sorry,
Joe, that this money would not come into Southall. If we hadn't written the plan, hadn't done the bid, Ealing Council wouldn't have got this money. So this money is not money that's being redistributed. This money is coming from DCMS via Sport England, if we can make a case for it. So Ealing Council have actually, this money, they wouldn't have it. So being able to successfully tender and make a case for Southall, that was my job. That was not. So I am embedded in council to make that systems change, so that system works for us in Southall. But my house is on last house on Woodlands Road and Radley Road, so I'm right there, Joe, with you. This money it's really important to make it clear is that this money is not going to come into Southall, and it's actually not the end of the story either. So if we work together, I can go and I can write more bids and I can write more plans for further investment to Southall. And or we can, it won't come into it via Ealing Council. So it's really important to make that distinction.
We can use this money for our legal cost.
Well,
we haven't seen Southall Community Alliance stand tall for the community. I've never seen you before. I've been living here for 55 years in Southall. I'm quite shocked and horrified that people are willing to take sides where the money is for few pieces of silver. The money that we spend ourselves. That's why no one can say that we're linked with Ealing Council or Berkeley Group. Thank you for your time. Sufyan, who's next? Gulshan Sangha, please. Mr. I'm sure it's Mr.
Yep.
Sorry there, I was just trying to unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, great. Obviously, I think it's fantastic that we're getting some funding to help the physical well-being of Southall residents. I hear what Joe was saying about obviously the air, which is an ongoing sort of situation. I think one of the things I was going to say about the cycling part of it is that you actually need to have better kind of road users, because people who want to cycle in Southall, it is really dangerous. And I think that's one of the issues. We actually don't have cycle lanes, and it's not possible to have them all over the place. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, it's hoped that people will use the cycles, but in order to use your cycle every day, if you wanted to go to school or anywhere else, I would be fearful for children, to be honest. We need car drivers to be a bit more considerate. We need the infrastructure that's needed for cycling in this area. That's all I wanted to say about it.
And I appreciate that, and I do apologize. Next, Sufyan.
Yeah, I can't pronounce her name.
Lewis, MS Lewis.
Yeah, let me
That's
try.
good enough. Lewis is good enough. That's a
Yeah.
lovely name.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Nyoka Lewis, and I'd like to introduce myself to you guys. I've recently joined the CVS as a funding and group development officer. Some of you must have received my, constant emails coming in, but yeah, just trying to introduce and get to know you guys. What I would like to talk about for a minute of your time is the feedback that we've been getting from funders is a lot of Southall groups are not applying for funds. The applications coming in are slow. Now I'm looking at it from both sides, because I've also had a lot of discussions with groups, and the rules and the eligibility of funders being not matching up with the groups in Southall. So recently we did have the Ealing Small Grants Fund, which I was promoting, and we've got quite a few people, but the council came back to me saying that they wanted specific, a number of how many Southall people were joining in and wanted and had applied for it, because that's where they were trying to infuse as much funds as possible. So I know that deadline has gone through, but we're the Ealing Council has put in another fund, which is called the Future Ealing Fund. And this is in collaboration with people who put up projects on Space Hive. So Space Hive is running an event with me on the 28th. And to know more about it, I can send a link to maybe Sufyan, and if you could register, know more about this alternative source, because as many applications as you can put in, I know it's very time consuming, but we can get the funds in. Like Mr. Rajinder said, applications, if you don't put in those applications, you won't get those funds. So just here to help you, and thank you for that 1 minute.
Thank you. You're welcome. You can have 5 minutes. That's not a problem. We don't control our meetings like London Borough of Ealing. We don't do a stage show. Question I wanted to ask you, please, was, are you actually working for Ealing Council? You're not. You don't work for Ealing Council.
I think she's gonna mute.
I can't hear you. Can you unmute Lewis, please? Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, my screen was playing up.
No, that's okay.
No, I work for Ealing and Hounslow CVS, not the council.
So you're a charity.
So we're a charity, but we provide capacity building services to organizations. So every borough has one CVS. We are a CVS for Ealing and Hounslow.
Okay. And how many people do you employ?
Within the organization?
Yep.
As of now, I don't have the count exactly, maybe 8.
Okay. You see, the problem that I'm faced with in Southall is when it comes to politics, there's going to be councillors' elections next year. And that is the time you will see Ealing will find some money for the community. But yet, I don't think, Sufyan, I don't think Peter Mason is on today, is he?
Nope.
Okay. So we've had a leader, we've had a change of leader, although it's still the Labour Party, but they keep throwing carrots at us. They think we're rabbits. Okay. Now, we are the first group in Southall, the history of Southall, to stand on our own 2 feet, and we will not be bought out, basically. Okay. I don't sell my soul for a few pieces of silver. Soon we will have a very serious court case coming up in the High Court of the damage that is done to the people and the health of the people of Southall. No other group's interested because they're only interested in money. Okay, they're not interested in my welfare or my children's welfare or my neighbors or my friends' welfare. And that is very, very, very shameful. But we're a group, we don't take money from Ealing Council. For the simple fact is, we do not want to be controlled by Ealing Council. Southall Community Alliance has been around, but I can speak in front of their face. Southall Community Alliance have not helped us, the brown and Asian people of Southall and the black community. They have not stood by us. They will do gimmicks to collect money because they're obviously paying themselves. We don't get paid. None of our group in cash gets any money, okay? We do this, we go to work, and then we spend our own time finding out facts and standing up for ourselves and also the community. And that's the difference. Thank you, Sufyan. You wanted to say something, did you?
Yeah. I just want to ask a question to the gentleman. His name's is it Ranj there?
Rajinder.
Mr. Rajinder. Mr.
Yeah,
Rajinder.
sorry. Yeah. So you said a certain number of people will get bikes and stuff. But what about the rest of the community in Southall? Because there's not 10,000 people living in Southall. There's a lot more. So what about the rest of them? Because yes, 10,000 people, that's great to have those bikes, but what about the rest of them? Because obviously there's youngsters like myself, my cousins in my generation, you've got the next generation up, and we've lived, obviously I've only been alive for coming up 20 years, but the stuff I've seen in Southall in the last, say, about 5 years since I've been an activist has been very shocking. Like recently I attended a meeting with someone, and the stuff I found out at the meeting was quite shocking to myself. Me living here, staying in Southall my whole life, and finding out these things over the last 3 or 4 years since I've been an activist, I think to myself, is this what my community is really about? Are these the people in power? Are these the people who are my counselors? The people I'm gonna go to for help? Now, like I spoke to a few people the other day, and I said to them that where has the money gone from the council's budget for ward forums, for us to have a voice? That's why we started these meetings, because we have not had a ward forum pre-COVID. COVID's been around for a year, but even before that, we didn't have any ward forums for, I think, 6 months or so. I don't actually know the timeline, but it's been a significant while. So we decided we're going to start Southall Matters, and that's how this formed. But as I was saying, Rajinder, what about the rest of us? And yes, okay, I understand that, yes, it is going to cost a lot of money, because bikes do cost a fair bit of money. But I mean, if you guys are funded, then how do you decide who gets the bikes and what's the policy?
Do you want to open their mics up, please, Sufyan? Thank you. If we can have... Go on, sorry, carry on.
Okay, brilliant question, right? So first of all, I'm actually incredibly rich, and I've been really lucky to be that. And I choose to live in Southall. So I'm also run Southall Volleyball Club. I'm activity manager at the Godora. I teach kids for free all the time. I love living in Southall. I choose to live in Southall. I don't need to live in Southall. Nobody really understands. So I've been an investment banker in the city 25 years, and I love Southall, and I sell Southall. And so that's a brilliant question. And because you say to me, well, you know, what are we supposed to do? And all I would say is that this is the start of the journey. So I will do my level best to get much more funding for Southall. So I commissioned, there's a company in Birmingham, in Handsworth, which is similar to Southall population. And I commissioned them to do a study, as they've done in Birmingham, how would it work in Southall? And what they did is they did about 10% of the the population that can cycle, which is about 6,000 people based on age of roughly 70,000. I know the population is different. But so what I'm trying to do is get the 2,500 bikes, get another 2,500 bikes and improve those areas. So things like a BMX track for youngsters. So youngsters say to me, oh, well, there's nothing to do in Southall. So, you know, working with the system to get further investment. But I think it's kind of you guys allowing people like me to switch careers, and I did, and switch careers and kind of come out of retirement at 48 and work for Southall and to get that investment for Southall, which has never been there before. And we have talent in Southall. We have immense talent in Southall. And we just don't, sometimes I think we don't really know how to kind of slice the pineapple. There is funding out there. This Let's Go Southall is in the million scale. So it's something that we should definitely work together to get. For example, I've got to see Councillor Chauhan on as well, and I'd love her to comment on here. For example, the canals and the investment the canals need to become a massive people's highway, like where you can cycle, you can walk. There's less, all the antisocial stuff from Bankside and other areas. And I used to be in Hamburg Tavern all the time. I know that area. I know the other parts of the canal. That investment, if we can come together, then I can use my skills to push the Canals and Rivers Trust, to push TfL to say, hey, you're missing Southall. And just to give you an example of that, Heathrow have a spur system. Like, where can you cycle to from Heathrow? Southall wasn't even on it. Southall, we had to really push them to say, how would you cycle from Southall to Heathrow? And we have, and I also got them to say, tell me how many people that work for Heathrow team that live in UB1, UB2, and it's 3,250 people, plus all their family, right, are in Southall. So can we think of a better way to travel to Southall? And if you map the route to cycle from Southall to Heathrow, there's some really crazy things. There's like a footpath that goes into a tree, for example, because that's just how the boundaries landed. So if we enable the right people, like you guys, me, local people, to tap into some of those resources, and Councillor Chan's been really good. She's been a massive supporter of Let's Go Southall, and to tap into young people and new people to go out there and fight for Southall, then I think we've got a big chance to give you a bike, you some access. It could be, so what we do in the campaign is that, Sufyan, we listen to you. We say, Sufyan, come and join Men Active, who play football in Southall Park every Saturday, Sunday. If you see them, you go in there, they're wearing bibs, they're playing football. Come and play football with us, join Men Active, tell us what you need. What's stopping you? What do you really need? And then people like me, with Councillor Chauhan, other people, will fight to get it for Southall. And I think that's what I'm trying to say about the movement, is us coming together, and maybe a good chance to bring Councillor Chauhan in, Joe, to maybe complement that.
We've got Rajinder, we've got 15 councillors in Southall, and within that group they've become 4 separate groups. So that's my community. Okay, all right, Angela, go ahead, please.
I'm really conscious of the time because we also have another guest speaker tonight. What I just want to say is thank you very much to Rajinder for coming and explaining about Let's Go Southall. One of the things I said, and the name of the council has come back to me, Jasmine and Anne, so I apologise for the brain fog before, is that for 2 consecutive years, in 2017 and 2018, I have a bike, my children have bikes, and we were unable to ride to Southall Rec, which is our nearest park, because of the overwhelming pollution from the gasworks. It affected us so badly, to the extent that my oldest child actually outgrew her bike and it was hardly used. So it's really important, I think, to build trust within the community. And if Berkeley Group is still involved and is still potentially a source of funding, then it really counteracts what we are trying to do as a group, which is all about holding Berkeley Group accountable for polluting us in our own homes. And I can't really emphasize enough the impact it's had on people's health. very debilitating illnesses such as pneumonia and asthma. So there are people who would like to go and exercise, but because their homes are being filled with very harmful toxic fumes from the site, it's debilitating and preventing them from participating in activities. So personally, I would like to see any connection with Berkeley Group completely severed. I was told by your manager that they were only involved in setting up the initial bid, but their name is still on the Let's Go Southall website. And that's a big issue. I mean, I've seen it for myself. It's a big issue for the local community that's been severely affected. So, there's got to be openness and transparency. And if Berkeley Group are involved, then it is a massive disincentive for the community who know about what Berkeley Group are doing to become involved in Let's Go Southall. And the manager's, Chris Bunting. So if that can be conveyed to Chris Bunting, the strength of feeling about any connection with Berkeley Group, then, I would really appreciate you doing that. I know there's another question in the chat box. Perhaps you might be able to answer that. But I think we do need to move on. So thank you very much for your contribution. Maybe you could hang around just to answer any questions you see in the chat box. Obviously, you're welcome to go because I know you're probably very busy. But, thank you for taking the time to explain about the project and to answer some potentially very challenging questions from the audience. So moving on, we should have Tanya Taylor of Young Ealing Foundation present tonight. Tanya, are you in the room?
Yeah, I'm just unmuting.
Sorry, I am in the room. Thank you for unmuting me.
Okay. The reason why I invited Tanya along tonight is about young adult centre. Obviously, Tanya can explain in detail, but you might have seen articles and social media postings that this particular facility is at risk of closure by Ealing Council. And Cash, as a local community group, have solidarity with you, Tanya, and all the young people that use the facility. So are you happy to talk briefly about the facility and the campaign?
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for the intro. Like Angela said, my name is Tanya. I'm from the Young Ealing Foundation, and just to give you a bit of background, we're a local charity that was set up in 2017-18 to support any organisation in the whole borough of Ealing that works with children and young people. And part of our remit is to have a youth voice panel, which is recently set up, and they're called the Ealing Young Champions, and they've actually started this campaign to save the Young Adult Centre in Southall. And I don't know how many of you actually know the building, but it's on Parkview Road. It's been there for like 30 years. It's an amazing, fantastic, big purpose-built building, youth centre, which includes an indoor sports hall, an outdoor football pitch, a gym, a music room, like with music recording facilities, therapy rooms that can be beauty therapy or any therapy, a juice bar, pool room, and office space upstairs. So it is fantastic space, and it's been on the asset disposal list, but Ealing Council's asset disposal list since 2016, when the decision was made to demolish it and turn it into housing. Now, obviously, it's still there, and since we've been around, in 2018, we try to have conversations with the Ealing Council and try to get them to consult with the public before they make any sort of decision on this. But obviously COVID has happened, and it seemed like they were trying to just not raise too much awareness about this and just, knock it down and turn it into housing without consulting. So our youth voice panel have decided that they do not agree with the fact that the council think that they can remove such a big community asset such as that, a purpose-built youth club. Just to give you some context, in the borough, there are only 3 youth clubs in the whole borough of Ealing. One is in West Ealing, one is in Acton, and the other one is in Southall. I think there's 16,000 young people in Southall. And there's 100,000 young people in Ealing, roughly. They make up a third of the entire population of the borough. Up to age 20. Yeah, a third of the population in Ealing are under 25. So it's a massive part of the population. As we know, there are hardly any spaces for young people, like you mentioned before. In Southall, what can young people do? The YAC, as we call it, the Young Adult Centre, actually has open access provision where young people could drop in. We feel like the council have been mothballing services there over the past year. So on paper, it looks like you can replicate the provision in a much smaller place, because actually on paper, there's not much provision. The point is that it has the capacity and the potential to be a thriving community hub and youth centre. We'd like to keep it for young people, but obviously it could be used for any sort of community space or activity. It's just, if you see it with your own eyes, you wouldn't necessarily believe that anyone could think of knocking it down. So our Ealing Young Champions have got this campaign called Save the Yak, hashtag Save the Yak. And the main part of that campaign is a petition, which is live now. And it's currently got over 700 signatures. In order for the council to debate it at a council meeting, if it's a local issue, you need 750, but we're trying to cover our backs and get 1,500 signatures. So we're about halfway, and we've got an extension. So we've got till the 31st of August to get those signatures. I'm going to pop the link to the petition in the chat. If anyone feels strongly about this and would like to sign the petition, we'd really appreciate it. And further to that, if you could share it within your network in Southall, because we need Ealing Council to rethink their decision. There was a meeting yesterday where the young people invited councillors down. Councillor Chohan, you were there as well yesterday via Zoom. It was an in-person meeting. We had good turnout. The line from the council is that no decision has yet been made, which is fair enough. But the point is, it is earmarked for demolition, and they're trying to find an alternative place to house the activities at the Young Adult Centre and turn it into 60 houses. I'm really sorry, my dog just randomly barks. But they've said, one of the councillors said that it's a terrible location for a youth centre, which we know is not true, because it's just, well, if you know where it is, it's just off the border, it's a really central location. It's a neutral territory, which we know is really important for young people because there are postcode wars. I think one of the places they were potentially thinking of moving it to was Golf Links Estate, which has postcode ties attached to it. And Councillor Raza and Nagpal visited the site and have openly now said that they don't think that site is fit for purpose as a replacement. But the point is, they are exploring all avenues to find an alternative venue. Our point is that you can't knock that down. You simply cannot. In post-COVID, where there is absolutely nothing for young people to do, no safe spaces, no places to interact with their peers that's not school, and to build trusted relationships with trained youth workers, an outdoor space where they can play football, play any sports, potentially have an allotment, like it would just be an absolute travesty to knock it down. So we are really trying to get as many people as possible to sign this petition so we can hold the council accountable. They have been responsive now. We tried to engage with them back in 2018. There were no young people around, and we were hitting brick walls. They weren't telling us any information. So it seems like there is the beginning of a conversation now. I don't know whether it's because young people have got such great publicity, or because there's a petition, or because people are talking about it. And actually, it's just something that, you know, people didn't know about it. People didn't know that they were trying to shut it down. So it seems like, I don't want to say progress is being made, but conversations are starting to happen, and it's because pressure is being put on the council. So yeah, just in terms of what you can do to help, if you would like, definitely sign the petition. I'm also happy to answer any questions as best as I can. But yeah, I hope that's kind of given a snapshot. I'm sorry, it's probably
no, Tanya, I want to first of all congratulate you for your hard work and the effort that you put into this, and hopefully we will keep the youth adult centre open. One thing you must try to understand, everybody that's listening, this council has lost touch with the BAME people. We've had Peter Mason come out and saying that how tough it is for Southall. The reason why it's tough for Southall is because the people that we vote for do not represent us. They represent their friends. And at the moment, I can say this with my hand on my heart, that London Borough of Ealing is siding with the developers, because that's where the money is. Are you with me? I'm not going to give the councillors free sandwiches or biscuits, because that's what they're used to. And I would like to say, shame on London Borough of Ealing councillors. These representatives are supposed to be there to look after the welfare, the well-being of the residents, which they're clearly not. And this is the reason that we've had to start our own party in Southall. And we will be standing 15 councillors in Southall next year as independent. And we will work for the community, not for our friends, for a few pieces of silver. And that's what's clearly been going on. Jasmine, I know you've been waiting. Do you want to come on, please? Sufyan, can you get Jasmine on and then get Leslie Bundan on, please? Thank you.
Hi, thank you. So I had a question for Ranjinda. I don't know whether I've missed your answer to Sufyan in regards to who can apply for this initiative. Are the people on benefit? Is it everybody, people that work and people who are on benefit? And also, as another commentator just made a point of, should we not make the streets safe first, because before that we actually start this initiative? And also what I want to know is, like, where did this come from? I've never heard of Let's Go Southall. It's the first time I'm hearing this, but where did this initiative start with? Because one of the greatest issues that we have here, and what a lot of councillors and people that running Ealing seem to be ignoring, are the health issues that people are experiencing in this borough, in this part of the borough. I just want to know why it's so difficult for council to address this, because it seems to me that it's very difficult for you to kind of give us like a statement that makes sense into why, what's blocking you to give us like a feedback of what's going on here and why people are not listening to us. And I just want that to be made clear by any of the councillors that are in today, please, so that we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Sufyan, do you want to bring Leslie on, please? And then we'll go on to the councillor. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. I just want to say a big thank you to Tanya for what you've been doing over the past few weeks and indeed the last few months. And just want to say you've got the full support of us here at Ealing Independence, because we've seen the importance of having active youth clubs in Ealing and how they've been decimated by Ealing Council over a number of years, especially since 2010 when Ealing Labour took control. What I find truly astonishing, Tanya, is the fact that Ealing Council, with the new cabinet, can increase the pay allowances the councillors get, but they cannot use that money and to make it towards youth or to other services. So definitely don't feel alone. This issue is an important issue, and it's one that you got a lot of support from, because you work cross community, which is so important. You work across all different ages of young people as well. And these young adults are so important. So any help you need from Ealing Independence, please count on us. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sufyan, do you want to bring the councillor on, please, Jazz Kiran?
Hi, thank you so much for problems with my light. Thank you for allowing me to participate again today. Yeah, it's really, I'm always very grateful to share these spaces with you all and to hear your contributions. Yasmin, I wonder if you could you possibly repeat your question to me? Is that okay? Because if I got it right, I was trying to make notes while you were speaking. You said you were talking about safety, street safety, I think. Was that one part? But go ahead.
Oh yes, please. So it was a comment one of a person that is in a meeting made in regards to the bikes, so that we make the streets safe in the sense of like having roads for people to cycle on.
Mm-hmm. So I think there is some work there's a consultation, I think, that's live right now, that's trying to introduce a cycle lane, if I remember correctly, from Uxbridge Road, from that sort of crossroad near the Dormers Wells Primary School, I think it is, all the way up towards Ealing. So that's one road that is looking to sort of receive consultation for cycle protected and separated cycle lanes. But I agree with you. I think, you know, we've really got to rethink cycle safety in Southall. I try and cycle, and for instance, cycling on Lady Margaret Road is just, when there's chock-block traffic and then you've got buses coming into the bus lane, it's very difficult. So I think there's what would be really helpful is to sort of flag up for those who do cycle and use the roads, like where do they find particular difficulties and problems, so that we can start thinking about like what possible alternatives, solutions. The other thing is, I guess, thinking about, sorry, I was just looking at the comments at the same time. I think Dixon was saying that the consultation is cancelled. I think it was restarted. I remember seeing a video online very recently about this. So that's happening again. I think that video was released last week or week before that. In terms of street safety, I totally share your concerns as a young woman who walks on the streets whenever possible because of COVID. And part of that sort of communication is like, you know, getting in touch with your local councillors, getting in touch with the Safer Communities team if you've seen hotspots of antisocial behaviour, so that we can flag those up to the community officers. I know at least that I've done a lot of work and engagement with local residents in the Southall Broadway area around this issue. That's one of the key things I, you know, get casework on quite frequently. So there's a lot of engagement that is, I think a lot of it depends on, you know, that channel of communication towards officers, towards the Safe Communities team, and also towards your councillors as well. So if you'd like, I'm the Southall Broadway councillor. I don't know what your ward is, but you're always very welcome to get in touch with me via telephone, WhatsApp, email. I make it a point to be responsive to everybody who gets in touch. So yeah, please do get in touch with me, and I'll leave my details in the chat box. And in terms of Let's Go Southall, I think when I first heard about this project, it was really interesting to me because of the approach that was being taken and the social movement approach. I think devolving it away from, you know, elected officials and trying to re-empower sort of normal people to connect in their networks to see how they could become sort of champions in the community. I think that was, for me, the most interesting
Karen
of this project. But yeah, I think I would also share the concerns that were expressed earlier by Angela in terms of thinking about, you know, the sponsorship and the links to Let's Go Southall, because I think, you know, in order to ensure that there is community trust, we must also listen to the concerns that people have regarding those aspects too. So I think that's sort of my opinion on that. And in terms of the young people, the young adult centre, you know, Tanya will have known, she got in touch with me very recently. I'm hugely supportive of the campaign and completely agree that it's important to keep spaces for young people. I'm not as young as I like to think, but I understand, you know, I hope I still understand some element of young people's thinking. And I know that more now than ever, like you said, like everybody has expressed, because of the pandemic, because of the social isolation, there's a huge need for it, and, you know, especially because of the impact of austerity. So, you know, anything that I can do to support, you know, the campaign, I assure that I'll be doing in terms of internal discussions. And just to say that even though the decision was made in 2016, it was actually a point that I was raising consistently via emails as well, continually asking about, you know, what was happening with the Young Adult Centre, you know, what was the rationale behind this. So despite the fact that, you know, the decision had been made, that was something that I also feel quite passionately about, especially as a young person, a youngish person in Southall. You know, these spaces are vital for you know, socializing, for connections. And like you very accurately said, Tanya, we've got, you know, unfortunately across London, we have a pandemic of gang activity, and having these spaces that are neutral, I think that's, you know, it's so fundamental. So thank you for the work that you've been doing. And yeah, please, I will leave my email address for anybody who doesn't know me or hasn't had contact with me.
No, thank you, Councillor. The quick point that I had, I don't believe in my heart of hearts that Southall Community Alliance are in any way the sincere people to be dealing with this. And I'm sure a lot of people who've been dealing with Southall Community Alliance will be of the same mindset as I am. They're clearly not independent. They try to be the mouthpiece for London Borough of Ealing. The lady, I keep forgetting her name, from the council. Do you remember the council officer that used to come to our ward meetings? She always finds time to sit on meetings with Southall Community Alliance.
Evelyn, sorry.
Beg your pardon, sir?
Evelyn?
Evelyn, yes. And yet she never finds time to come to our meetings. So I think that speaks volumes. And obviously, Sufyan, yourself, I think Angela's been to 1 or 2 meetings, David, Marston, and also Dixon. You know where I'm coming from. We are the old people of Southall, not the young. But if you look at the state, we're talking about bicycles. Our meeting, if you all remember, was on the 10th of July in the Dominion Centre 2019. I got hit while I was on a bicycle outside my house by a car, and I'm still going to hospital for it. So is it a good idea? Are these bikes going to be insured when they knock down an old lady? We get them on our footpath outside my house, riding on the bicycle on the footpath. When we were kids, and we used to do something like that, even riding a bike on the footpath on the Broadway, a Sherpa police van will pull up, take the bike from us, and say, bring your parents to the police station if you want your bike back. That's the kind of childhood I've had in Southall. Angela, and then Gulshan, Sangha, please, and then Jasmine. Thank you, Sufyan.
I just want to say thank you to Tanya for coming on and explaining how vital the Young Adult Centre is to an area like Southall. I calculated the other day that I have spent 30 years of my life working with young people, and I know how important the youth service is to them. Tanya might be able to tell me, a few years ago, I used to work at Southall Community College, and at the time, connections and service out of the Young Adult Centre, that was actually taken away. And the expectation was that young people from Southall, if they wanted careers advice and if they weren't at school, would have to go to the youth centre somewhere in Ealing. Now, if you live in Southall and you're disadvantaged, you know, Ealing is not particularly close. When we look at the impact of the pandemic and the fact that young people have been isolated and at home, and I know about the impacts because I work with young people in a specialist crew who have mental health difficulties. And we should not underestimate the impact it has had on their ability to socialize, self-confidence, their ability to communicate, and so on. So I think really if Ealing Council go ahead with their decision to dispose of the asset and build flats, this is a massive disservice to young people, and they are going to be storing up problems for the future.
We got to stop them, Angela.
More
we have
crime,
to stop them.
More mental health problems, more referrals to CAMS and to services, Ealing Safe, for example. And I think, you know, they want to do it by stealth, that they think that people don't care. Well, Cash cares, and we are in solidarity with you. And I share as many posts as I can on social media, alerting people to this injustice. It is important that this service is retained.
That's right.
Because young people deserve a chance. They have lots of barriers in Southall. And what I like about the YAC, they are getting support, they're getting mentored, they're less likely to be involved in crime. Through my job, I had to do prevent training today. I mean, that's another aspect. Engaging with youth services, young people are less likely to be attracted to extremism, And if there are any signs, the youth workers will actually step in and start safeguarding procedures. So, you know, it's really, really important that we don't lose the expertise of the youth workers who are based at the YAC, and the facility for young people to engage, to be away from their parents, to be with their peers outside of school. And I am really disheartened that Ealing Council have run down the services over the year. It's not acceptable. I know that Councillor Nagpal visited recently, and I know Cam Nagpal from the time I used to work at the college, and I respect her that she really cares about young people, and she knows intimately the disadvantages that they had to overcome to go to college.
Yeah, but Angela, she doesn't live here no more. She doesn't live in Southall no more. People don't have love for Southall. They only want to make money out of it,
Yeah.
or have political power out of Southall. Now, if you look at the original community centre in Southall, they sold that. We never had a letter about it. It was all done behind everybody's back. The Southall Community Centre used to be near Sunrise Radio, which is now a marriage palace. And now I believe there's planning permission for another block of flats. Now, the same issue we've got in Park Avenue Temple. They want flats there as well. And apparently on the Broadway, the temple on the Broadway near Beresford Road, they want flats there as well. There's a hidden agenda here, and this is the argument. They do not want great minds to get together, so they keep us separate. Now, Councillor Kang, I remember when you invited me to the Green Ward Forum, it was Councillor Kang who got up. That was my cat, sorry, jumping over, coming back home, I think. Councillor Kang turned up and said that the recreation ground on the Green, he wanted the youth and the people to stop what they were doing there. Maybe they're playing cards there, the old people, or they're discussing things, or place to sit and gather together, basically in a park, what a park is for. And it was me who unshamefully had to get up and remind Councillor Kang that it was him, when he was a councillor, that they sold all our community assets. And now they're trying to do the same. They basically want Southall separated, segregated into our temples, into our mandirs, into our churches, into our mosques. They don't want us to have a community where we can actually discuss what we're doing today.
And this is why it's so important that the YAC, which is secular, isn't taken away from Southall. But I just want to ask Sufyan, you are probably the youngest person in the room. I mean, what do you feel about plans to close the YAC down?
I mean, I've never actually visited that youth centre. I used to visit the youth centre in Golf Links Estate when I was much younger, when I was about 9-10 years old. And I remember speaking to the lady there when they were about to close, and I asked her, what's happening here? She goes, we don't know. They've given us a letter to close in 6 weeks. And I used to go there every day after school because my mum used to work. My mum's a single parent, so I used to have to go there until 3-4 o'clock until she got home. So me and my brother used to get on the E5 from Top Locks Estate, because I went to school in Top Locks, go there, 2 golf links, get off, walk to the youth centre, go in, have a bit of food, obviously socialise. And then when they closed that centre down, it became derelict. That building is derelict now. I mean, I still visit my mum in Golf Links. I don't live in Golf Links anymore. Moved out. I live with my grandparents. And anytime I go past that centre, I just think, what have they done with it in the last 11 years? I don't know. It's never been opened. No, like, I don't know what's happening there. And I really do hope they reconsider, because the YAC, I've never been to it, but I mean, yeah, there are postcode wars. I know people, sadly, from my high school. Like recently, I lost a very close friend of mine. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he got stabbed 3 weeks ago. And I mean, these things really awoken us. I mean, a lot of us came together, even though we've not spoken in God knows 5 or 6 years. We all literally just message each other on social media, like, meet us there. We'll go to the funeral. We went to the funeral. We went to East London to bury him, and we just thought he just turned 20, and he's lost his life. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I just thought that could have been any one of us. Now, last year, I was in Top Locks Estate. I got stopped by 2 young boys, much younger than me, and they pulled out a knife, and I didn't know what to do. Luckily, thank God, I had just left the taxi. The taxi driver saw what was going on. He called the police. The police didn't show up for 15 minutes. By that time, the 2 boys who were the perpetrators had run off. To this day, I've not got an answer. I've not got justice. I've rang Metropolitan Police about 6 months ago when they said they were closing the case. I said, I don't care how much it costs you to keep this case open. You keep it open, or you'll be hearing from the courts, because it's one thing could say that you've got no leads to an arrest, but okay, I know the guy's face. You've got CCTV, but they said CCTV cameras weren't working. So what the hell? Where does the money go with Ealing Council? That's what I want to know.
It's been pocketed.
Yeah, and
the money's been pocketed by their friends who get the contract. I'm just surprised what Rajinder told us. Rajinder is telling us the bikes are going to cost £1,000 each.
No, getting these bikes from his mates at £1,000 a time. I'm sorry, Halfords probably sell them a lot cheaper than that.
I'll sell them my bike. Look. Can you see it?
Yeah.
I haven't used it for years. I haven't used it because someone's going to kill me. They're going to knock me down because I'm becoming a political figure in Southall.
No, but as I was saying, I mean, as I was saying, a lot happens in Southall with the youth. I mean, a lot of people have ended up on the wrong path. Like, lucky for me, when I was much younger, I was told right from wrong. And in high school, I will admit, I was at times in high school, I was involved with the wrong people, but I saw sense very early on when I was about 14 years old. I was like, these people are not going to end up anywhere good. They're not going to have a career. Yep. I've worked since the age of 17 and a half. I've made money legally. People who went to my high school, they are now, I mean, I know of people who are sitting in jail serving 5 to 10 years for doing various different crimes.
That's terrible.
Yeah, including attempted murder. These are boys that I used to sit in class with.
But they've taken the wrong line, haven't they?
And I look back and I just think, where was the support for us? Yep, the SLT, which is senior leadership team in the school, always were on our case about, your shirt's not tucked in. They never used to come up to us and have a heart-to-heart conversation, like, what's on your mind, or why have you acted out? They would straight just isolate you and that's it. They don't want to know what happened, who did what. They would isolate you and that was it. That's the level of respect I got at school. I got excluded twice for things I didn't do. I was falsely accused twice by senior management.
Emma, could you come off because it's freezing?
Now, I mean, that's when I decided that, no, I need to make a start for myself. Yep, the school does not help me. Yep, I did my utmost best in my GCSEs. Thank God I got the grades I did. Was offered that place at a very good university, didn't take it because I didn't want to go to university. I went down the work route. I started to work. But as I was saying, with the youth centre, I mean, it's a valuable asset to the community. And if they do close that, as you said, there's 3 youth centres, one in, I believe you said Ealing and Acton, right? Why aren't they closing them down? Why is it the one in Southall, the one which the more deprived people live in? Yep, we are.
That's what Peter Mason said. He said that in Southall, deprived people live here. Well, I've got a message for Peter Mason. who's done this to us?
He has.
I'll tell you who's done this to us.
The
It's the
council.
Labour Party. The Labour Party have done this to Southall.
Yeah.
Because we've always voted, our forefathers have always voted Labour.
Yeah,
So
but
it's the Labour. So it's the Labour Party who have put us in the dilemma that we find ourselves in.
But
Sorry,
Joe, I'm really conscious of the time, and I know
that's
that
okay.
Gulshan had
Patel,
their
Councillor
hand up.
Patel.
Hold on one
I'm
minute.
looking for
Gulshan-
hands and I can't see
All right,
anybody's hand up.
Gulshan had their hand up, and I was just wondering, because of the time, do they have a question for Tanya in case Tanya needs to go?
Yes. Thank you, Angela. What I really wanted to say, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
I just wanted to say to Tanya, I have visited the Yak and I know what a wonderful building it actually is. I think what's pretty shocking is that when you think about all the houses that have been built in Southall already, when you think about all the ones that have been built near the Sunrise building, the gasworks, the Southall Village at Havelock, it's pretty shocking that they think that they need more houses on the site where the Yak is. And I think it's fantastic that you've managed to get some councillors there, because there's no two ways about it. It's only when they see a place that they really begin to understand what it's really all about. I'm going to go out of my way to try and look at your petition and get as many signatures as I possibly can. Well done for getting those 700 already. And I think, we need to try and save the Yak because we need it so much. When we think about, Angela mentioned, mental health, the level of knife crime, grooming, young people need that Yak, and we've got to do everything we can to save it. I think we're in the right direction. Tanya seemed to indicate that they seemed sort of receptive to, to the fact that we needed it. I think the final thing I wanted to turn around and say is that Joe was talking about the Labour stronghold, and I think, one of the biggest issues is that people are just marched down there and they blindly vote for Labour, and we need a change. And that's all I wanted to say.
Well done.
Thank you,
Gulshan. Thank you very much.
So I'd just like to say
next?
thank you to Tanya. I don't know whether you can stay until the end, but if there are any kind of like questions in the chat box, if you need to leave, I'm happy to email them to you. But thank you for giving up your time this evening and explain how important the Yak is. And we will do our very best to promote the petition.
Angela, what I want to say is that what we will do also, obviously this video will go into YouTube, as I said at the start. So what I'll do is I'll link it in the bio as well of the YouTube channel, and we'll get it out on our social media platforms as well, because obviously we need to help each other.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate your support and for having me here today. I can stay till about 8:30, but then I'll have to.
Very kind. Very kind.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sufyan, I can't see any hands up. This is my problem. Does everybody know how to use this system?
Councillor Patel's got her hand up.
Councillor Patel, if you look to the bottom of your screen, reactions, you see it? Raise hand.
Oh.
We'll teach you, Councillor Patel, don't worry.
Thank you. I see it. Okay.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say, growing up in this country as a youngster, some time ago, we had a local youth centre that we could walk to. Now, I don't see any youth centres, even the leisure centres that were all council-owned are all going private. What's going on? Where's the money going? I was walking around in Hillingdon the other day, and they were doing the pavements, they were doing drop curbs. In Hillingdon, they don't charge you to pick up your greenways. Where is Ealing's money going? I can't see it. They don't do nothing for us.
Councillor Patel, David Marston will tell you where the money's going, or Dixon Saviour will tell you. Don't worry.
I am going to ask James Murray, because I've got a meeting with him on the 4th. So I am going to ask him about these questions. I've managed to get him to come to the site on HS2 on the 4th.
You'll never get a straight answer from a politician.
So if anyone wants to come to that meeting, please let me know.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep. I believe Jean, David, and Dixon have their hand up. So
thank you.
Jean,
you.
let's go first.
Fire away, Jean. Good evening to you.
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Jean.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Really nice to see everybody. Sorry I came late. My son lives in America. I'm Zooming with him. So that's silly. So I just want to know, really, I really want to know what councillors are doing to bring, and it's great having this meeting. Well done, Cash, yet again. Well done, Sufyan. Well done for getting this thing going. But Ealing Borough, through its councillors, through its Southall, I live in Elthall Ward, I'm in Ealing Southall, and I think it's absolutely incumbent on councillors to get the youth voice strongly heard in the borough. I put on the chat, there should be a youth conference. I don't know whether there's a youth council, maybe just lip service paid to it, but youth have to be at the centre. Councillors need to be made to listen to the youth and take them carefully. Someone mentioned the meeting 2 years ago at the Dominion Centre that was about the pollution, the Southall Waterside development. It needs to be a meeting like that, but run by people on here, with councillors listening, with young people speaking, because don't forget, although maybe it's a lost cause, we know the local elections are next May. And I know many councillors in Southall have very, very, very safe seats. And they just, you know, I was almost going to swear, I'm sorry, they need to work for their constituents and their people who vote for them. So I would, as an action, I would like to see councillors on here really getting together with Cash maybe and people in the community, and you know, perhaps Gurdwaras and temples, but really to bring youth. They have to put something on that is very serious that people will take note of.
Thank you very much, Jean. Sufyan, who's next?
I believe it's oh, your hand's just disappeared. I believe it was David Marsden, then Dixon. David, would you like to unmute?
Good evening, David.
We can't hear you. I don't know if your mic's off. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Can anyone else hear David?
I can't hear David.
David,
can you hear me now?
You put in the chat that we can't hear him, maybe.
you want to
hear me?
You want to take off your headphones, maybe?
We can hear
We
you.
can hear you now. We can hear you now.
All right.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Just want to say in support of all the stuff with the youth centre, I mean, I would just say, firstly, you know, do everything you can. Direct action is possibly going to be needed. You know, you might have to lie down in front of the building to stop them bulldozing it down. I don't know. The Ealing Council will sell off that property if they can, because all they're interested in is getting money off the developers and building towers. They have targets to meet for housing. They get Section 106 money off the developers, millions of pounds for all the homes they build. You know, unless you do everything you can to stop them, and you know, hopefully the community will support you in that. Youth centres have been very important in Southall historically, before my time, but I think I'm not mistaken in saying that all the resistance to racism, the National Front, and all that horrific stuff in the 70s and 80s, a lot of that came from people who were using the youth centres that were around at the time in Southall. So I think it'd be an absolute travesty if this one goes. And it's about place. Ealing are big on place. Peter Mason's big on place, what they call place, you know, the actual place where you live and the places that are there where you live. But of course, they don't see it like that when it comes to a youth centre. They just see it as a land value that they can sell to developers to build on. But places are important. And I'll just put a link in the chat about all the towers that are being built in Ealing, stopthetowers.info. Really worth visiting that site to have a look. There are going to be, I think, something like, I forget the exact figures now, 10,000 new homes built 40,000 new residents in Southall alone, which will almost double the population, I think. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
They're obviously,
Everyone's
David,
frozen
they're
on the
obviously
screen. I
not
don't
going to
know if
be
anyone
around,
can
are
hear
they?
me. I'm finished now anyway.
No, I mean, David, they're not going to be around, are they? They're going to be out in the sunset.
Well, I mean,
we're the people who are going to
safe
suffer.
seats that they've got the safest seats in Ealing. Southall Green is the safest Labour
No, they're
seat in Ealing.
panicking. The information, David, I have is that the Labour Party, there's a split. There's 4 groups now, and they're panicking. Don't worry.
Well, there is a split because Mason got in by 1 vote, didn't he? So
what I mean is, like, you know, we've done very well because they're
he
panicking.
won by 1 vote against the most hated Labour leader in history. So that's how popular he is. No one else stood.
Well done, David. Well done. Sufyan, can we have Dixon? And then Jazz Kiran, please, if anybody else hasn't got their hand up.
Thanks, Joe. It's a bit rich coming from Peter Mason, who was, I think, last week seen on opening up the plaque for Mystic Roots. Now, Mystic Roots was that's our time, Joe. Back in the old late 70s, they had like a youth club, which the council tore it down, took it down after the riots. So here we got the yak earmarked for development because they don't want to see the BAME community getting together, trying to safeguard, you know, that they are sent on the right path in the future. So what you're now finding is anything they can sell, like the lady said from the Yak Youth Club, Tanya, asset stripping. Well, they got Shackleton Hall sold off, various other places in the big youth center, community center in Bridge Road, various other places. So, you know, all this just be sold off just to get some serious cash in to line their pockets. Thank you.
But Dixon, if I may interrupt,
sure.
They keep ramming home that London Borough of Ealing need 30,000, or they have, sorry, beg your pardon, they have 30,000 people on the housing waiting list. I'm ashamed. I'm actually ashamed from the Labour Party and of all our councillors, for the simple fact is, people are suffering in Southall, but yet lifting these flats up from people out of town. So what's going on? Why bring somebody from Liverpool to Southall, Manchester, Lewisham, Croydon? What have they done for Southall? And yet the people who are suffering in Southall, 4 people living in a 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom. So have they lost the plot?
No, they haven't lost the plot. They have not lost the plot. The all it is basically is they're just bringing in BAME people from other towns into a polluted land, which is now we've got in Southall called old gasworks. Simple. You know, at the end of the day, you bring in BAME people from other communities, which the other London councils are not able to provide or are not willing to assist. So in that way, you just take it back and give it to a council who will then take it on and put it on into a polluted area. You find
Shameful.
that a lot of people live in the BAME communities are dumped into places where you've got ex steelworks, ex gasworks. That's what it all boils down to.
So really, our lives don't
matter.
You.
That's it. You hit the nail on the head, Joe.
Thank you, Dixon. Jasmine, please, Sufyan.
Yeah, so yeah, just listen to all of you. It's just amazing because I actually feel the same. And I think one of the reasons why Southall is treated the way that it is treated is because of the ethnic minority people that live here and how they don't know their rights, how they don't know how to articulate their rights, put things in complaints, for example. I mean, where I live now is where the old gas work was. And honestly, I can say maybe 98% of the people that live here are brown people. And they don't want to complain because they're afraid of what's going to happen if they do. And it's a shame because most of them are in dire situation, but they don't know how to speak up. And the only positive thing I can see from this is the fact that Berkeley Group has changed its name from Southall Waterside to Southall Green Quarters because of all the complaints. I'm assuming that is available on Google. But it's just very sad. I'm thinking, I heard one of the councillors earlier saying that you want to gain the trust of the people, the community of Southall. And if you want to do that, I think you should listen to the people. I'm thinking, I'm very happy about this whole thing with the bike and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, there's great issues that we have and great issues that we need to tackle, such as like Tanya's project, for example. And I think the only reason that I can come back to again is the politics things. You know, we have Sadiq Khan complain the fact that there's a lot of crimes going on in London, and then we have Boris Johnson who's not supplying the money or provide funding. So
that's
it's
always
all about,
that's always an excuse.
And
that's always
frustrating.
They always play one party against the other. We've always been fooled by this in the past.
It is.
We will not be fooled by this no more. For the simple fact is, this is the way they treat us, with contempt.
True. And I'm happy to see Kiran to be here and kind of take initiative and saying that she, you know, is happy to take emails and, you know, providing your email address, your phone number for us to contact you. But it's a shame that we have all these councillors, which is basically, I'm so frustrated the fact that it's just all talks. We had Peter, I wasn't in the previous meeting, but I was in the meeting before that. And I heard Peter Mason saying that he was gonna look into all the things that we were saying at that time, and he was gonna do a follow-up. And I'm assuming he hasn't done his follow-up because otherwise Angela and Joe would have informed us of that. So I'm just thinking it's just so frustrating, and I really cannot wait for next year and to vote a lot of people out if that's possible. I will do my best because I'm just so frustrated and sick and tired for people not speaking up for the people that live here. And it's just so sad. It's so sad.
Well done.
I'd rather have you go and look for a job somewhere else than basically coming here acting like you care, acting like that you want to help people, and you don't do nothing. That's the worst.
It's propaganda against.
It's shameful.
It's propaganda against the voters. That's what it is. They play one against the other. The Conservatives will say it's the Labour Party. The Labour Party will say it's the Conservatives. And we are the foolish people who vote with our feet.
Well, listen,
I'm sure there's some people in Southall, they actually go and vote in the post box on the street, because it's painted red.
But people vote for Labour because the alternative is Conservative, and nobody really wants the Conservative, I'll be very honest. I don't even know how they won this time, but you know, nobody wants them. So people are thinking to themselves, they've been voting for Labour for so many generations, but they think
40,
that, and that's
years.
the only reason why Labour wins. It's not because people have confidence
50
in them.
years we've been voting for these people.
People don't want the Conservatives.
Yeah, because
that's the reason why they're voting. It's nothing else.
Sorry, Sufyan?
With the younger generation like myself, now I voted for the first time, what was it, last year, I think, or the year before. And my friend who also voted for the first time, his dad said to him when he got to the postal box, vote Labour. He said, what do they do for us? And his dad was quite shocked. He couldn't obviously answer that. He goes, yeah, what do they do? And that's the thing. I mean, like, with all due respect,
don't worry.
Party, I was a member of the Labour Party for some time, maybe like a year or so. But in that year, I got no emails, no communication from them. I raised this with them twice. I said to them, look, have you got the right email for me? They read my email back to me on the phone. I said, yep, that's my email. Why am I getting invites to the meetings? Because other Labour Party members I know in my area, in my constituency, are getting these invites, are getting these meeting invites. What is going on? So they said, well, raise it with your CLP. So I raised it with the CLP, called him up, said to him, look, I've not received any emails or anything. Can you put me on your mailing list? And he goes, yeah, I will do. Still receive nothing. The only 2 emails I've got in my inbox from the Labour Party, I've kept those 2, are welcome to the Labour Party and sorry to see you go. So, oh yeah, and one more, which was Jeremy Corbyn obviously left, and it was that email. Apart from that, I received no other emails to any other meetings, and I just thought, well, why am I paying a subscription to a party who I thought I cared about if they don't care about me? And
I was not invited to the last two meetings by the Labour Party because I was being told that what I can say and what I can't say. And therefore, they didn't invite me to both of those meetings. One was on Zoom and the CLP meeting. I've got some news. I don't want to give a name because we're saving it for the election. We've got people from the Labour Party who phones around the public of Southall, the residents of Southall, and this is a question that they ask. Have you been fined for anything? Can I help you with something? And then they do charge the people money for this. But we'll bring this out towards the election. But this is how corrupt the system is, okay? Okay, Jazz Karen, fire away.
Thank you. I just wanted to pick up on some of the points about developments in Southall, and to say, you know, I completely hear what everybody is saying, and I 100% share your worries and concerns about overdevelopment in Southall, and it's something that I've spent, you know, the last few years bringing up in public forums as well, such as planning committee meetings, definitely in internal discussions, and sharing my concerns about, you know, the fact that so many tower blocks are going up, but I don't think we've got sufficient infrastructure to meet that influx. And I mean social infrastructure, particularly in which, you know, the YAC is part of that scheme. And so, you know, I hear everybody's frustrations about the local Labour Party, and believe me, it is not easy to hear those things, but like, I understand why you feel this way. I was a disaffected voter as well before I joined the Labour Party. I grew up, I've spent my life here. You know, I joined the party at a time where I thought there was a possibility for change and, you know, bringing a new, strong social justice element to what we do. That's why I stood as a councillor, to represent, you know, your views and to make sure that your views are heard in spaces where they, you know, I don't know if they were heard before. I wasn't a councillor then, but all I can say is, despite whatever the reaction might be to me saying it, it's something I will continue to do until the last day I'm a councillor. So, you know, these points that you've all made about overdevelopment, your sense of disaffection from the Labour Party, those are all points that I make, I will continue to make. And Yasmin, I hear you too, that you feel a sense of frustration at councillors who talk, but you don't see the action. And I can only say that, you know, I can only pretty much over these years I've learned I can only talk about what I do and what, you know, that's pretty much all the control I have over myself. And I deliver, I make sure I follow up on things that come my way. There were bits of casework that came to me from, I remember in the first meeting I attended, Angela mentioned uneven road surfaces and problems with crossing from Beaconsfield Road over to Park Avenue. I called the gentleman. We, you know, had discussions about what could improve. Those sort of mats were changed to, they've been changed twice. I've been following it up again because bits of cracks have been, you know, forming between the new mats, which are sort of ramps from the pavement to the road. They're now being changed to tarmac to ensure that they're, you know, safe for people who are on crutches and with disability. And that's just like one thing off the top of my head that I picked up from this meeting and then I went back with. And I currently have 2 pages now that I've written down and paid attention to, and I will go back with. And I only apologize that things don't happen quicker. It's my frustration too. Unfortunately, institutions are slow, they're bureaucratic. You have to talk to this officer and then you have to talk to this cabinet officer and then you've got to create consensus around this. And it's a hard, slow task, but it's one that, you know, I've poured a lot of energy into over the last 3 years. And that's my commitment, you know, that's something I'll continue doing. And you're all very right. These meetings are difficult difficult spaces, because hearing criticism of you and your colleagues, is never easy. But I will continue coming, and I will continue hearing you out, and I will continue taking your criticisms forward, because that's what democracy is about, isn't it? Or it should be about. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Sofian, who's next? Sofian, have I lost you?
No, you got us. See.
Stick Councillor Patel on from Norfolk.
Councillor Patel.
So one of the things that I wanted to check with everyone, I know we're running as independents, and I've spoken to Sofian about setting up accounts, tweet accounts and all that, Southall Matters. But this year, I had no one that I wanted to vote for. I did vote, but I had no one that I wanted to vote for. Moving forward, not next year, but probably the election after, how are we going to be a strong independent person? I've done my research into other independent people around the UK, but I wanted to hear how we in Ealing are going to raise our profiles to get somewhere.
Councillor Patel, every time we've met a councillor, we let them speak. Okay, we don't interrupt them.
Okay.
And they axe their foot by themselves. Okay, so don't worry about that. I think people have come to their senses. People have realized how mistreated we have all been by the system. And remember, well, look, we had an issue on the Broadway, okay, on one of the streets. The council officers came. They were lovely human beings. And they were proper people. I had a lot of respect for them. And they done what they promised. The streets are cleaned, okay? Now, why do we have to go through a councillor, then to the officers? I mean, if the councillor cared, he should have been attending the meeting when the officers attended, but he didn't. Now, Southall councillors are actually afraid, okay, because this word was used in the meeting, which we had on the 8th of June. We had a walkabout near Southall Canal, behind Berkeley Group. So obviously the councillors are afraid of us because we speak our mind. This has never happened in the history of Southall. The community in Southall, the councillors in Southall, including the MP, Mr. Sharma, the system used to work is if you want something done from them, you go and hold their feet. You bow down to them like in India. Don't you remember in the Indian films?
Yeah,
Sabji. This is how they think they're VIPs. They're public servants and they should learn to behave like public servants. And soon they will lose their seats. Don't worry. Look, the harm they've done themselves to themselves, okay? Southall traffic is diabolical. Everybody is upset, okay?
Our traffic's going to get a lot worse.
The flats in Southall are diabolical, okay? The parking permits that we pay good money for, yeah, they're going up by another 15%.
Wow.
We can't find no parking space when we come home because the people from the flats at the back of my house park their vehicles on our streets and they're all using disabled badges. Now, that itself is a con, okay? So people are woken up. Don't worry, people are waking up every single day. I speak to somebody new, okay? So don't worry.
I don't know how to make that work in Norfolk. I mean, yeah, I got Miriam Rice down. I grilled her, and I got some of the older residents. They grilled her. I think the poor woman was in tears when she went. We really did grill her.
They're not used to this. This is what I'm trying to explain to you, Councillor Patel. They're not used to answering questions.
Okay.
They're too busy. Look, colonialism is working in Southall, okay? Don't worry about the masses, yeah? Look after the church leaders, etc. Okay, and they will withdraw the power. They will tell their congregation who to vote for. We're not stupid, okay? We're quite intelligent people.
Yeah.
Sufyan, who's next?
Leslie Bonda. Do you wanna...
Thank you, Sufyan, and hello again, Nita, and thank you for your great question about how will us as Ealing Independents, from all the way from Acton through to Southall, make a big difference. And I think the answer to that question simply is we actually love where we live. You know, everything we do is based around love for ourselves, love of people where we live, and just making sure that we deliver services that people actually want and can be approached about. As Joe mentioned, the current hierarchy is unacceptable. You shouldn't have to go through to a councillor for them to fix something. You know, the people who are working for Ealing Council, as you know, because you previously worked yourself, many of them are good, honest people, but they do not have the power to make the change because for whatever reason, the council and councillors and the chief executives are controlling them, and they're controlling them for whatever reason, for their own political gain, for their own career gain. We will change the whole system here, okay, and bring Ealing, the whole borough, you know, into the control of the people. That's the only way it works. This whole concept has worked across other places across the UK, and that's what the current council are afraid of. They're afraid when we start talking about people power and people control, they don't like that. You know, the fact is, at the moment, all political parties are imploding. You only have to look at the Labour Party. You know, members of the Labour Party have been spending money, yet the Labour Party is on the verge of going bankrupt. They have literally 1 month's money left. It's embarrassing. So if you're a Labour member, it's a shambles. The fact is, on a local level, we just got to think about local issues. A national issue is something completely different, and we have no plans. We have no interest on the big national issues. You know, about I don't know, weapons, or about other, you know, satellites going to space and going on to Mars. That's not relevant for Ealing Independence. What's relevant for Ealing Independence are things like better education, helping the homeless, caring for the community, and more importantly, as we say all the time, it's about loving the community. You know, we've done our research, we've spoken to the councillors. You know, they hardly ever use the word love. The only love they ever talk about is loving themselves, not loving the community.
Yeah, true.
Sufyan, somebody is trying to record on an iPhone. Can you please check that for me? It's an iPhone they're using. We can just send them all the film. Don't worry. We're not ashamed of ourselves. We love ourselves. We'll send them the full. We'll send them the full recording.
Yeah. As I stated at the start of the meeting, the meeting is being recorded. It will be on the YouTube channel, and it will be shared on Cash's social media platforms, as well as various other Facebook groups related to Southall on Facebook. Yeah, it will be out shortly, probably in the next day or two.
I would just like to add this, please, if I may. We are going to bring this up next month. London Borough of Hillingdon have turned down planning permission for a development in a site called Master Brewer, which is on the A40.
Yeah.
The Mayor of London has used his executive powers to get it put through. The same that happened to Southall Gasworks. Well, I'm very proud to say that Hillingdon Council, respect to them, respect to all the councillors, we bow down to you for having the guts to take him to court. They're actually going to take him to the High Court to get this stopped. Shame on Ealing Council. You can find 2.5 million to buy £1,000 bikes, but you couldn't stand up. You couldn't stand up for the residents of Southall. Shame on you, Ealing Council, and that includes all the councillors, apart from, of course, the one who's present. She might beat us up. Thank you, Dixon. Come on, then, give us what you got. Sufyan, Dixon.
Yeah, I've tried to unmute him. He needs to accept the request.
Unmute. Sorry, Joe. I was trying to unmute myself. Yes, I just want to back it up with the article with you said about the master brewer. It's amazing how when we were pushing and asking the previous councillor, this is before Councillor Johan and the other two colleagues of hers, this is called a JR, judicial review. Now, you had your walk with Councillor Mason and Virendra Sharma. Virendra Sharma keeps coming up and saying that let's forget the past and let's go for it. And he's keep blame Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson was mayor at the time. He used this guillotine, the executive powers, which at the end of the day, Sadiq Khan is now using it for the master brewer. Now, isn't it amazing that Hillingdon Council, whose motto is we put the residents first, have actually now put in for a JR. They're going to take, like you said, from the article, I've got the article in front of me, that they're going to take Sadiq Khan to a judicial review to stop only 514 homes. Old Gasworks is going to have 3,750 homes. Where were the
Well,
councillors then? The councillors were saying they couldn't do nothing. Yes, they could have. You could have actually put in a JR. That's your right. Your job is to safeguard the residents. MPs are here to safeguard, again, the citizen. Her Majesty's government is to safeguard the citizens of UK and the residents as well.
but Dixon, do you
So,
remember when Sharma used to say that I'm an MP for Parliament and I can't get involved in local issues to do with Ealing Council?
yes.
And now Mr. Sharma has become the driver for Peter Mason all of a sudden. What's going on there, do you think?
Yeah. Well, saying that, Joe, on the 10th of July, we had that public meeting at the Dominion. Where was Virendra Sharma? He was hiding among the residents in the back. He should have been sitting at the front with the panels so we can grill him. But the funny thing is, he was sitting at the back trying to keep a low profile. Now, we should have actually picked up on that. That's our mistake, but we didn't see him. We only saw him towards the end, that he was sitting at the back and hiding among the people, when he should be at the front getting a grilling from us, because he is a failure. Now, you and I went to see him back in February 2018 or 17, sorry. And all of a sudden, that YouTube went missing. A YouTube which is actually showing him shaking hands with Tony Pidley and Boris Johnson. And then he's got the audacity to say, I'm totally against it, blah, 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 and all that. He's in one of the magazines. The Southall News magazine, which is promoted by Berkeley Group. So, where do we stand? We need a change. We need independence. We need local issues to be dealt by local people who live locally to address the local problems. We don't need Labour. We don't need Conservative. We don't need Liberal. And we don't need anyone else. Local people to deal with local. And we want local people to stand as councillors. Thank
Power
you.
to the people.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dixon. Angela first, please, then Councillor Patel.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say that on the surface, it appears that Peter Mason is trying to deal with the situation of the gasworks. He announced that an independent air quality monitor has been appointed, but he said it will take a long time to implement the air quality monitoring. So it's like, how long is a piece of string? His predecessor, Julian Bell, told us the air quality monitoring was to begin in August 2020. He also told us that he's appointed an environmental protection officer specifically for Southall, but he hasn't actually shared the details. So if somebody wants to make a complaint about odour from the site, we have no mechanism at the moment. So it seems to me he's very sort of gung-ho on making announcements to try and make himself look good, but when you scratch the surface, there's very little substance. what we discovered today, and for people who are unaware, there are residents and they are severely affected by the air pollution from local landfill site. On Twitter exactly the same symptoms that we describe: headaches, nausea, having to keep their windows shut in a heat wave, not being able to breathe properly, red eyes, you name it. You know, you feel absolute sympathy and empathy for these people because we are going through the same thing. Anyway, it seems that the leader of the council has taken a different approach because the Environment Agency aren't taking any action against the operator of the landfill. So Cabinet have actually set aside £1 million for legal action, and they are taking steps towards serving a statutory abatement notice to Red Industries, the site operator. Now, we are told by Peter Mason, I need more evidence. How much more evidence does he need? Residents have been complaining since 2016, and numerous of us have had visits from council response officers who have actually witnessed the odour for themselves. It's absolutely disheartening that a councillor appears to talk about inequality and wants to do something about it, when in reality he is creating inequality. I'm fed up with his sloganeering. It means absolutely nothing. I will be watching very closely what happens in Newcastle under Lyme and what the Borough Council does next. But perhaps if Councillor Chohan is still here, she can raise this particular case as potentially setting a precedent for Ealing Council, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't accept there are no tools in a toolbox. And I think, Leslie can correct me if I'm wrong, but at a cabinet meeting, a councillor shared that the council has a 2.4 million surplus. So yeah, surely they can set aside.
They did mention having the money. So it's not, they haven't got the money. It's more about they don't want to do anything. And as we know, Angela, Peter Mason and Ealing Council got a legal opinion in 2019, which they failed to show publicly.
They're still not telling us, are they?
We're still waiting, and perhaps absolutely right, Leslie. You know, Councillor Chohan, if you can take that back to Councillor Mason, yeah. We are still waiting for him to share the legal advice, and we see no reason for him not to share the legal advice that was obtained in 2019.
He's trying
was it
really this approach from, no, it wasn't shared.
It wasn't
no
shared.
What I'm saying is, the question you got to ask yourself, did they actually take legal advice? Are we worthy of that? That's the question.
Yeah, apparently so. Peter Mason has claimed on record now many times, Just Kieran, that in 2019 the council took legal advice and got legal opinion from a barrister about Southall Gasworks. I've asked him now on numerous times on Twitter, Angela's asked him as well, and we've publicized it quite heavily. This legal advice was paid for by Ealing residents. Peter Mason claims it's legal privilege. Well, how can it be legal privilege when it's been paid for by local residents and it affects something that unfortunately has been either killing people or is in the process of killing them? So we would like, in the interest of transparency, openness, and democracy, for this 2019 opinion to be shown. Now, keep on saying it's all about legal privilege. Well, who does it benefit? And that's why there's something there which Peter Mason's hiding.
Leslie, is there actually any truth in this? Is there any evidence that they did actually take legal advice?
This is what Peter Mason has told us on numerous occasions in 2019. And he said to Angela and myself, he said in his usual monotone voice, you know, I cannot give it to you because it's legal privilege. And every time we said to him, well, hold on, legal privilege, who is it benefiting? Because clearly It's not helping the residents of Southall, and their families and the people. The only person it's benefiting is either yourself or somebody else who is being protected by this legal privilege. But the fact of the matter is, Just Kieran, this is being paid. This is legal advice paid for by, council taxpayers.
Could we do an FOI on it, Leslie, and try to get some information?
We tried, but the FOI request stated they couldn't give it to us. So it'd be really helpful, Just Kieran, if you can find out why. And if they say it's legal privilege, that is unfortunately not good enough, really.
Well, then hopefully when we're in court, we'll ask that to be
exactly
examined and see how we come across that.
Yeah, I mean, why should Peter Mason and maybe 10 other people in council have sight of it, but humble people in Southall cannot see it?
Yeah,
I understand.
Just going to note, I was making notes, which is why I wasn't looking up at the screen because
thank you, Just Kieran. And of course, going back to my earlier thing about showing the love, thank you for showing the love.
I definitely do.
We know you do.
Yeah. I shout from the top of mountains.
Thank you.
But what I was going to say is, yeah, I'm happy to bring up the case about Newcastle being a precedent for setting a precedent in terms of how to deal with these developers and nuisance, and also so just to clarify, it's legal advice from 2019, but also more recently. Is that the case? Like 2 sets of legal advice, or you're just looking for 2019? You're on mute, Leslie.
I'm now unmuted. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, so there's a 2019 legal opinion, which was received by the council, and Peter's read it, but he refuses to divulge the contents. And Peter also claimed to Angela and to Cash and lots of other people that they're seeking more legal opinion in 2021. And as soon as that is delivered, he will share it. And he used the basis saying, well, we don't have to share it, but I will share it.
Okay. Maybe he should use our QC. Maybe he needs a proper, QC. He can use our one if he wants. Yeah. Jasmine, please, Jasmine. You're on mute.
Yes, sorry, I tried to unmute myself. So I was informed, I don't know whether anybody that has actually contacted the environment team actually has received, because I'm dying to find out. And I told I think in the meeting that I attended, I think 2 months ago, I did say to Just Kira, I'm so sorry, I didn't send you the details or the reference number that I received from the environment team when I contacted in regards to the odor, and I never received a feedback. So I'm just wondering, are there any residents who do or have received a feedback from them, and what does it actually say? I have contacted, and I told Joe about this, I've contacted Berkeley Group directly. Apparently they have this community team that replies to the emails quickly, but they don't really respond to what you're saying. I've asked them, because apparently they're supposed to be doing some work and see whether the site is still safe for people to live in. I haven't had any feedback from them. I'm still waiting for it, if I'll be very honest. I was told that indeed there is a very strong odor. So I've been contacted by somebody, and this person is from the council, who told me they're waiting for a report from the environment team. And apparently that's the last report for I don't know what. And in that report, it will kind of say any damages that people claimed to get from the odor. So she did say that the odor is indeed strong and might be sensitive for people, but there's no chemical effect for people to get ill. So kind of saying that basically we are lying. And so I said to her, because it was over the phone, I said to her, if you see smoke, if you see fire, if you smell smoke, then there is fire. So if the odor is there, it means something is there. So otherwise we would not be smelling the smoke. So I've asked her if she could provide me the report, and she said that they are in the finishing line, and they will report that soon. But it's going to be the same thing where they basically say that there's nothing there, and people are basically overreacting in a sense.
Jasmine, we've had 5 years of this. We've had 5 years of this, and people are dying. People have died on my street. It's all nonsense. We can't believe them no more. Okay? They love dishing out carrots. They think we're rabbits. Okay? The last leader of Ealing Council promised us the same, and nothing happened. Because what it is, our leaders, our councillors are weak. They're weak. They're not standing up for the community. And that's why there has to be change. There's only one councillor who's always shown us 100% interest, and that's Dr. Jas Kiran. But it's shameful. They're selling their own people out. They're selling their community out, and giving children bicycles to go out and get ill. I mean, I showed you my bicycle. It's been parked up here for a couple of years now, because I'm not going to go down the canal riding a bicycle, breathing all those fumes, inhaling whatever they're throwing at us. Sufyan, there's an iPhone going around doing some recording. Can you please mute them? Thank you.
Yeah, I have.
Can you mute the phone, please?
Yeah, I have.
Thank you. Anybody else like to say something?
All I can say is that when we asked environmental health about the vibration and also the air quality, the guy from technical services came down and said, I've got the data, HS2 didn't give it to us until April, I've got it, I'll show it to you. And then he couldn't access the data. And then he started to say, you wouldn't know what the data says. And we actually proved him wrong, because we then went on the website and we found all this data and we showed them in April and May on 3 occasions they violated the air pollution and they violated the vibration. And he won't come to our meetings anymore. Hence,
that's okay.
Hence why we've got Mr. Murray to come and answer. Miriam Rice's input is even more. I'm not holding my breath for anything.
Don't worry, they're going to be taught a lesson, not to worry, don't worry. Dixon, please.
Broadway Boulevard, Southall.
Yes.
Costs well over 10 million. I invite Councillor Chauhan, the only person out of the 3 who's willing to participate, and I do applaud her the fact that she does come to, if you do invite her, rather than the other 2 who it seems like they haven't got time for South Broadway or anything anyway. For the last week, we've had issues. We've got Ealing has now brought in 24 hours for bus lanes. Now, once you come over the bridge, you go along the bus lane, guess what happens? There's a bus gate, traffic lights. Now, that's brought in by TfL. I think it's cost 7 million to do that, but the bus comes to the end of that traffic light. That's supposed to be giving priority for the bus to overtake everyone. Normal has been held back, normal traffic. But come in the evening, after 7, the bus traffic light priority system goes haywire, because guess what's at the end of the bus traffic lights? Cars parked up. So the bus can't actually now leave. So the bus now joins the normal traffic. So what was the point of having that? Is there any chance, Councillor Chauhan, we can remove that completely? Let the bus just join the whole, shenanigan, in a sense, like, stay with the traffic. Because it seems like it's pointless, because what you're having is on the opposite side, it's a single lane, head westbound. But outside the Tamalini shop and the butcher shop, people parking 4 cars along there, which then forces the westbound traffic to head on for the eastbound traffic. So you're basically driving against the flow of traffic on the Uxbridge Road. All because people are now looking at this. There's no road marking. It's called the Holland, some kind of design. It was designed in Holland, Copenhagen design. So you've got traffic flowing at 20 miles per hour. It adhere to all the requirements. The pavement is the same level as the road, so it's designed that people will go slow. It's not working in Southall. You got people here. For the last 4 days, I lived at the near the top end. I could hear cars popping their exhaust pipe, going, and it just wakes you up. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm still up. What's going on?
That's because Dixon. That's because if they live in Gerrard's Cross or in Ivor, they can't do that where they live. So they're using Southall as a rally. They're doing rallies on my street at night as well. And because, you know, the terrace houses on both sides of the street, and it's so loud, it's unbelievable. And the other thing that you just discussed about the bus lane, the problem that I have is when I'm coming back into Southall from Hayes, everybody's undercutting you. So you're waiting properly in the queue and they're undercutting you up to the bus lane onto the Broadway near Stanley Road, I believe it is, or no, Livingston Road, beg your pardon.
Yeah.
And then they're all cutting back into you, which is diabolical, which is, you know, I try not to give people away, tell you the truth, because I go with the highway code. If somebody's undercutting, they're actually breaking the law. Now, the other thing is the bus stop. Sorry, not the bus stop. The traffic lights.
Bus priority.
Yes. Now, that is a danger itself because the traffic stops on one side. So if people are crossing with children or something, the traffic from which is flowing out of Southall is not stopping at those lights.
No.
And whoever
it's not
came
meant
with
for
that,
crossing, Joe. It's not meant for crossing because only less than 50 yards, the only Pelican crossing, which is outside McDonald's. That is the only Pelican crossing along the Broadway because Tim Mullish, the project manager for Broadway Boulevard, decided there's no need for Pelican crossings. So they removed 4 Pelican crossings for the South of Broadway. So after removing, they said the death rate will decrease, but the death rate has gone up because people are now crossing willy-nilly wherever because the crossing points are not kept clear. People are parking across it. So people are now crossing where they like, and people are not adhering to the 20 miles per hour because people are driving at 40 miles per hour. So if you get hit at 40, do you think you're going to survive? No.
so if you,
the stats basically say you don't survive.
so
You'll only
Dixon,
survive if you're only at 20.
so Dixon, if you add another 2,500 bikes on the road, what's going to happen? Mayhem is the word I'm looking for. Mayhem.
Yes.
Mayhem.
I would really like to ask Councillor Johan, do you know you've got those red plastic, I don't know, dongles or stuck on the road? Will they put those along the Broadway where the cycle lanes are? Because along the Broadway Boulevard, do you know that the cycle is not supposed to be riding on the left-hand side? He or she is supposed to be riding in the middle because the roads are narrow. So when the road is narrow, the highway code actually says you ride on the middle. You don't ride on the side because you'll get crushed.
Do you
Broadway
remember?
Boulevard is not designed for cycles.
Do you remember the meeting that we went to about 10 years ago, maybe longer, when they decided about the Broadway Boulevard? And we said the only thing Southall is missing are barriers going across the footpath so people can't cross or run across the road. And that will stop the deaths.
Yes.
But then the council could not give a £10 million contract to their friends as usual. And I took a surveyor out there. He reckons about 1.5 million was spent. We want to know, London Borough of Ealing, where is the rest of the money? Who's got it? That's our question. Come on, Councillor Patel. Tell us how they do
Councillor
it.
Johan, I will email you what you just asked me.
Councillor Patel, can you tell us where does the money disappear to?
In someone's back pocket for their holiday to Mauritius or somewhere, building something nice for themselves.
Councillor Patel, can I just introduce you to the people who are new to us?
Yeah, of course.
Councillor Patel used to actually work for London Borough of Ealing, okay? Go ahead, Councillor.
So my position was with grounds maintenance. I used to look after the grounds maintenance manager and his 80 operatives with some managers. Because I joined the union, my manager felt threatened. So he made a quick exit for me, gave me redundancy. But little did he know, I came back in strategy and planning and then into Conservative Party to hold the meetings as a secretary. So his theory didn't work until I got paid better by a pharmaceutical company. So I know what goes on. It's similar to all these contracts that keep going in and out of the council, the backhanders. I've seen 4x4s end up on heads of council. You know, I've seen it all. I've seen what money goes in and out from certain people and how they spend the time. And this is senior people in the council, not just the people who actually do the work. And that's the saddest thing about it all.
Fabulous, isn't it?
On that note, I'm going to leave because my throat can't talk anymore.
Thank you for your time.
See you for next month's meeting.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
You.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jasmine.
Bye.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for your time. And I'll see you all next month if possible.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you for your time.
Bye.
Yeah, so the next meeting's on Friday, the 20th of August.
Last Friday of every month. Last Thursday, beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Last Thursday of every month.
Yeah, so that would be.
So is everybody agreeable to having a meeting in August? Because I was wondering whether there would be much interest. But if you think, you know, it's worthwhile, then let's go with it.
Oh yeah, no, because yeah, that's right actually, because summer holidays and stuff, and most people will be away.
I have got no money to go on holiday. I can't afford to go on holiday. I'm a poor person.
Me neither.
Jasmine, you be there and I'll be there, okay?
Holiday
All right. So what's the consensus? Still have a meeting in August?
Yes, we'll have a
on
meeting in
20th?
August. Because everybody's going to be, the kids are on summer holiday, aren't they?
Yeah.
So everybody should have ample time on their hands.
It's 26th.
Sorry?
Thursday the 26th.
No, just keep it as the last Thursday of the month, and we all know.
Thursday. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
but no, I think there's more questions, and if we start advertising the fact, then we
sorry to interrupt you, Joe.
Carry on.
Can we have people actually displaying their name, because it seems this whoever this iPhone is sounds a bit and looks a bit dubious. Why is it this person?
I don't know why he's not closing it. Why Sufyan hasn't shut it up? Sufyan, why haven't you stopped this person who's using the iPhone?
What do you mean stop it? Remove him from the meeting?
No. Put him on mute.
I have put him on mute.
It just popped up again.
He's left now.
He's left now, is he?
Yeah.
He's left.
All right.
Joe, I'm really conscious of the time.
No, you carry on. You go. Don't worry. We can still talk. I mean,
Are you
Dixon's
happy
there.
to carry on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Good night, and see you
Thank
in
you.
August. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Angela. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
evening.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for coming. Bye.
See what it is now, Jasmine. You've got to start actually knocking on doors. For Dixon, I mean, obviously, it's the first time you joined us. Jasmine is going to be standing for a councillor as independent.
Well done.
From the new estate, okay?
Thank you.
Is Sufyan standing up as well as a councillor candidate?
Sufyan is being hard to get at the moment. I mean, I've asked Sufyan for a couple of favors, and he doesn't
Are you
want to
still
know
recording this, Sufyan? I mean, I don't mind, but I'm just saying.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sufyan, are you still recording?
Yeah, it is recording. Shall I?
No, switch the recording off.
Yeah.
This is private now. And try to delete that as well.